I ruined my brother's wedding because his bride's mother overheard a secret about our family. So, I'm 28, my brothers are 34 and 32, and my cousin Exil, who isn't in the US, is 30. This story is about my middle brother. Our parents split up when I was really young, mostly because of my mom's extreme jealousy. My dad tried to deal with it for a while, but when she started saying weird things like I was trying to act like his wife, that was his breaking point. After the divorce, she bounced back quickly with a new guy who had 2 kids. At first, they had shared custody, but when my dad got remarried, my mom completely lost it. She started calling his new wife every awful name in the book and accused him of cheating while they were still married. I was always closer to my dad and brothers than to my mom because, honestly, she was pretty mean to me growing up. Long story short, my stepmom passed away in a terrible car accident, and in the middle of the night, my dad called my mom to let her know he'd be picking us up early so we could go to the funeral. Instead of showing any kind of sympathy, she decided to take us on some fun trip to celebrate something. It was the happiest I'd ever seen her, but when we figured out why Dad called, we broke down crying. Her response? She told us only worthless people cry for worthless people. That was the last straw. My dad went for full custody with only limited visitation rights for her. He kept the communication lines open, even paid for us to visit her when she moved away, but things were still rough. As soon as we turned 18, we started cutting ties with her. The last time we saw her was at my high school graduation, and she made sure everyone there knew how ungrateful we were. Her husband even joined in, calling us names too. We've been no contact since then. Now, fast forward to my brother Sam. He started dating his ex about 3 years ago, and she knows all the stories about why we don't talk to our mom anymore, but she always brushed it off, saying we were just being dramatic. This caused some friction between them, but eventually, she seemed to let go of the whole "you need to reconcile with your mom" thing. During the wedding planning, everything seemed fine. There weren't any red flags or signs that something was off. But when we got to the church, guess who was sitting in the front row? Our mom, her husband, and his 2 kids. I instantly freaked out and called my brothers. Sam assumed she found out about the wedding and decided to crash it, so he called his fiancée to warn her about the possible drama. That's when she casually told him she had invited them. Sam hung up and asked me to go get him while our oldest brother handled things at the church. We both went back to Sam's place and locked ourselves inside. Even when his fiancée, her family, and their friends came over trying to reason with him, we didn't budge. Our mom's husband even had the nerve to call, saying he always knew we were worthless. Now that the dust has settled, most of Sam's friends are on his side, and the majority of our family supports him too. Even our dad's ex-wife's parents have threatened legal action. As for the money her family contributed, they've hinted at wanting it back if Sam doesn't marry her. But Sam's made it clear he'd rather pay them back every cent than marry someone who betrayed him like that. Our immediate family is fully behind Sam, but the backlash has been intense. Edit. Thanks so much for the support, everyone. You've really reassured us. A few people asked, and no, she hasn't apologized at all. In fact, she even texted my oldest brother, Joe, saying she thought inviting our mom was a perfect wedding gift to Sam because she values family. To add to the craziness, my dad had actually bought them a house as a wedding present, but only Sam's name is on the deed. She had keys at first, but they had the locks changed today. Joe and some of our cousins are also helping Sam move all his stuff out of her apartment this week. We're not too worried about getting sued, but we're planning to consult a lawyer just to cover our bases. We also heard that our mom and her side of the family are still hanging around town. But honestly, we're all staying at our childhood home for a few days, so none of us care. My dad's been pretty heartbroken over Sam's situation, but he's trying to keep his spirits up with the help of my boyfriend and my sister-in-law. I've had to deactivate my social media accounts because the nasty comments and messages were piling up. Thankfully, as more people are hearing about why Sam left, things have started to die down. I do feel a little bad that she was humiliated, but at the end of the day, my brother comes first. Edit 2. I asked Joe what happened at the church after we left, and it went down pretty much as I expected. He stood up in front of everyone and announced that Sam wasn't coming, asked them all to please go home, and said that any gifts delivered to our side of the family would be returned as soon as possible. The ex was still outside when someone from her family told her, and she lost it, screaming, crying, and blowing up Sam's phone with calls. Our mom tried to talk to Joe, but he didn't even look at her. When she couldn't get a reaction from him, she pulled her usual stunt, sobbing dramatically about how awful we are to her. A few people even tried to comfort her, which is exactly what she wanted. Joe and his wife didn't care, though. When they finally left the church, Sam's ex was waiting for them, demanding to see Sam. Joe just told her, "No." Then she started asking what she should do with the reception. Joe told her if she didn't want to use the venue, he'd arrange for the food to be donated to the staff, so it wouldn't go to waste. Everyone was yelling and freaking out except for Joe, who stayed calm the whole time. He didn't want to give our mom the satisfaction of a reaction. After everything calmed down, Joe and his wife stopped by a supermarket and grabbed some fast food before coming home. Now, it feels like we're all kids again, just hanging out, except this time we've got 2 more people in the mix. We asked Sam if he wanted them to leave, but he said he's happy to have everyone around. We'd already taken time off to be with family after the wedding anyway. So for now, it's all working out. The ex showed up at the gate, but we knew by then that she wasn't going to use the venue. So my sister-in-law called them, using Sam's info, and told them to go ahead and keep the food. She even sent them some tips for their trouble. On the bright side, we're getting back all the alcohol that Dad paid for, so it looks like we're going to have a very boozy end to the year. A few people have messaged me, asking why our dad ever married our mom in the first place. The truth is, he really loved her and genuinely thought she was the nicest person in the world. Unfortunately, it turned out that wasn't the case. She put on a front, and only someone as nasty as her current husband would stick with her once her true colors showed. Dad even considered staying with her until we were adults, but her behavior kept getting worse. She had these moments where she'd be super sweet, and he'd think maybe she was changing for the better. Then, just as quickly, she'd flip back to her old self. As for my cousin Exil, there's no doubt she's convinced our mom is a nice person with ungrateful kids. Mom can be incredibly charming when she wants to be, and she's got this way of making fun of others that some people find funny, as long as it's not directed at them. But that still doesn't excuse what my brother's ex did. The only person Sam explained things to was his boss, who had been at the church. Thankfully, his boss was really understanding and shocked by what our mom put us through, especially since we all come across as pretty happy, well-adjusted people. Dad's been a rock through all of this, telling us we can stay home for as long as we need. Sam's even moving back in for the time being. I shared this post with my family, and they're really touched by all the support. Sam wanted me to let you all know that his ex wasn't showing any major red flags before this. He really thought she understood his background and the issues with our mom. He agreed to meet with her and her parents today, but only if the meeting happens at our house with all of us there to support him. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting visit. Update on my runaway brother. Sam did lose some money in all of this, but it's nothing that'll set him back too much. Her parents had paid for her dress, a fancy cake, and part of the honeymoon. Even though Sam's ex wasn't exactly the most loved in-law, we honestly believed she cared about him. We've cut all ties with our mom's side of the family. Joe used to have some contact with our grandma, but after she pulled some stunts at his wedding, he cut her off too. One more thing about Mom. Her weird comments about me wanting to be the wife stemmed from her belief that it was inappropriate for Dad and me to have daddy-daughter days or go on outings together. But the thing is, Dad did the same with Joe and Sam. There were Daddy Joe days, Daddy Sam days, and family days too. He always made time for each of us individually and as a group. Mom just twisted things because of her issues. We don't really talk about our childhood much. So when people ask about our parents, we just say, "It's just my dad." Or, "It's just me, my siblings, and my dad." Most people assume Mom has passed away, and honestly, it helps avoid awkward questions about why we don't talk to her. As for Mom's stepkids, they're both guys in their early 30s. Our dad, by the way, has been with his long-term girlfriend for a while now, and things are going really well. We all really like Dad's girlfriend. She's been doing her own thing the past few days, but she's let us know she's fully on our side. Now, the latest update. At first, I was confused about why Sam even agreed to meet with his ex after not speaking to her at all. But it turns out she sent videos and photos of all his belongings scattered on the floor to his best friend, Tom, threatening that if Sam didn't talk to her, she'd destroy everything. Tom rushed over to tell Sam what was going on, and they decided they needed to get access to the apartment before anything worse happened. Tom, Joe, a couple of our cousins, and my boyfriend all went over and grabbed Sam's clothes, electronics, important documents, basically everything he really cared about. Sam wasn't too bothered about the rest and even joked that they were the fastest-moving crew he'd ever seen. The meeting itself? Honestly, it was ridiculous. She showed up with her parents and sisters and tried to get Sam to talk to her alone. When he refused, she just started talking without even a hint of an apology. She claimed it wasn't her fault that we didn't understand the value of a real family and accused us of being raised to hate mothers. She went on about how her only reason for inviting our mom was to teach Sam to value mothers because she was terrified he'd take her future children away, just like our dad taught us to do. Sam stayed silent until she crossed the line by calling our family a cult and even took a jab at our dad, saying, "He's a terrible father." As you can imagine, that's a sore spot for us. We don't tolerate insults against our dad, no matter what. That's when Sam finally let loose. He called her a hateful liar and said he was disgusted that he ever touched even her hand. He actually thanked the universe that I'm chronically early to everything because it probably saved him from more pain down the road. Sam didn't hold back. He told her staying with a cheating husband, like her mom does, is nothing to be proud of. He accused her of pretending to be nice just to get him to marry her. Then he unloaded a bunch of minor things that he'd been willing to overlook because he truly loved her, or at least who he thought she was. But he made it clear, he'll never forgive her for the pain she caused his siblings. Still, he doesn't hate her because that would mean he'd have to waste energy thinking about her, and she's not worth that. At the end, Sam told her she had plenty of chances to explain herself, but instead, she acted like the victim. So now, he would be the one to tell everyone why he didn't show up to the wedding. It was brutal but cathartic, and absolutely necessary for Sam. Her parents didn't say a word, but you could tell they were furious. She was crying, and her sisters tried to defend her and their parents' relationship. They clearly expected our whole family to argue back, but none of us took the bait. We just sat there. Then, Sam turned to her father and said, "If you want to sue, go ahead. But if you do, I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about your entire family." It was a power move, and honestly, no one had anything left to say after that. Sam's ex's dad had the audacity to argue that Sam could still make amends and marry her, saying something ridiculous like, "You're not getting any younger, and all families fight. I've never rolled my eyes harder." The rest of the meeting was more about logistics, returning wedding gifts, stopping the harassment from their family, canceling the honeymoon, and changing the locks. Sam's ex kept crying and trying to talk to him, but he was in full business mode and didn't engage unless absolutely necessary. He only addressed her directly when she mentioned she was keeping the engagement ring, something no one had even asked about. They left without further drama, but just when we thought things had settled down, my mom and her husband snuck in through the gate when the booze delivery arrived. She started shouting that she needed to talk to her babe fives, which, yes, is how she refers to us, and my dad calmly told her to leave. That's when she went off, screaming that Dad had raised us wrong, that we were embarrassing her with our behavior, and that we're just terrible people who lack maternal love. Well, she got that part right. She called it a pathetic result. But honestly, we couldn't care less. At that point, Joe went outside and told her to leave, mentioning the police were already on their way. Somehow, she took this as an opportunity, thinking that since Joe finally spoke to her after all these years, she could sweet-talk him. She even tried to get him to grab dinner with her and her husband. Joe didn't even entertain the idea. He just told her the only news he ever wanted to hear about her was when she died, so he could go celebrate. Cue hysterical crying from Mom and her husband, who started yelling at Joe, demanding an apology, and even threatening to hit him. Dad and Joe just walked back inside, leaving them there at the gate. We didn't bother watching them leave until we saw their car drive off. Then we shut the gate behind them. It's hard for some people to understand why we react the way we do, but honestly, what I've written here is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to our mom. Dad wasn't exactly thrilled with what Joe said, but he understood that he needed to let it out and that Joe was speaking for all of us. Maybe that makes us bad people in some eyes, but the truth is we don't ever want to see this woman again. We're all planning to start some family therapy on top of our individual sessions, which we definitely need after all this. Sam, for now, doesn't even want the house anymore, but Dad's encouraging him to take things slow, focus on mending his heart first, and not make any big decisions yet. In the meantime, we've been having horror movie marathons with a few Disney classics thrown in to lighten the mood. We even started a drama bingo, joking about all the ridiculous things that could possibly happen next because I guess we are kind of dramatic after all. But here's the thing, we love each other, and we were raised to treat people well. But when we're pushed, we can be petty. Honestly, though, I feel better knowing that Sam's ex humiliated herself in the end. And while I wouldn't wish being left at the altar on anyone, I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat, because I love my brother more than anything. We'll be going on a family trip at some point, but for now we're just staying close to home and getting through everything together. To the person who called Joe a hero, you're right. We couldn't ask for a better brother and friend. We've read all your messages, and I want to thank you for letting me vent. The awards, the private messages, PMs, everything. I'm sorry if my English isn't perfect. Oh, and by the way, Joe and Sam are fake names, but Daniela can go take a hike. Just a quick note. My brothers have been reading your comments too, and they want you all to know how much they appreciate the support. They know how lucky we are to have each other and want to remind those going through something similar. It gets better. And hey, you're all welcome to join our cult. If you want. Update 2. First off, a few clarifications. Feel free to PM me, even if it's to send insults, though I'll only reply in public. Someone sent me a long essay claiming Joe was parentified, and here's my answer to that. My brothers spent time with me because they wanted to. We had special days together, sometimes just the two of us, sometimes with friends. They weren't forced to drag me along with them or give up their freedom. They had nannies, family, and my dad around for help. They were never burdened with taking care of me. Sure, my parents had shared custody, but we spent 90% of our time with Dad. The only times Joe or Sam visited our mother after they turned 18 was when I had to visit her, and they didn't want me to go alone. We've all been in therapy for a long time, but after seeing our mom again recently, we're doing some extra sessions to deal with that. Joe's the only one who actually interacted with her, though. And no, Sam and I didn't ask Joe to confront her at the church. He did that on his own. Some people asked why our dad didn't go with Joe, and the simple answer is that Sam asked Dad to go home. We didn't think Dad needed to deal with seeing our mom again, even if he had to talk to her later. For the record, Sam isn't some heartless monster. He's cried. A lot. He's heartbroken. He thought he'd spend the rest of his life with Daniela. He thought he was a good judge of character. And he never expected to see our mom again. It's a mess of emotions right now, but we've all learned, growing up, how to keep our feelings in check around people we don't trust. It was a survival skill, considering how we were treated. Joe used to have a relationship with our grandma, but he cut ties after she invited our mom as her +1 to an event. He sent her a letter and never spoke to her again, not even when she passed away. We didn't attend her funeral. For the wedding itself, there were about 250 guests. When Daniela made the guest list and seating chart, she used fake names to sneak our mom and her family in, which is how we were caught off guard. Also, just to clarify, Daniela isn't Brazilian. Not sure where that rumor came from. And my dad wanted me to mention that none of us are alcoholics. He's worried people will get the wrong idea about us because of the booze talk. LOL. Lastly, this week has been chaos. But here's the kicker. Those of you who warned us about a pregnancy stunt, you were right. Daniela posted online implying she might be pregnant. And here we go again. We freaked out all over again when Daniela posted about being pregnant. People started calling Sam, asking if it was true. Sam immediately called her and told her to take it down, but she insisted it was real. He asked her again to delete the post and meet up to talk about it. She finally deleted it and agreed to meet him. Somehow, this woman actually thought Sam wanted her back. I went with him and she was all smiles until I walked in. Then, she started crying and holding her stomach. When Sam asked if she was really pregnant, she said yes and added that she didn't want their child to grow up in a broken family. Sam, not buying it, told her they were going straight to the doctor to confirm the pregnancy. Cue more tears and hysterics, with her screaming that he didn't trust her. Long story short, she wasn't pregnant. But she wasn't done yet. After the appointment, she posted that Sam had forced her to have an abortion and that she was devastated. As you can imagine, that was an absolute nightmare to deal with. People didn't know what to believe anymore with all the back and forth drama. My sister Anna found out about the post, and let's just say, I have never seen Anna this angry. I don't know exactly what was said during her conversation with Daniela, but whatever it was, it worked. Daniela took down the posts, but Anna wasn't about to let it slide. She wrote an email explaining everything, including the fact that Daniela was never pregnant, and sent it to everyone on the wedding guest list. This morning, we found out Daniela had a complete breakdown. She left Sam voicemails, saying that if she couldn't be with him, she wanted to die. Unfortunately, that's straight out of our mother's playbook. Sam did the right thing. He called the police and reported it. Her family finally stepped in and forced her into therapy, and she's currently under observation. None of us take any pleasure in this, but at the same time, we don't want to get involved anymore. We're already in the process of changing our phone numbers. Our mom, of course, couldn't stay out of it. She emailed Anna, threatening to sue her for defamation over the email blast. But we're not worried. Anna's parents are incredible and fully support everything she's done. They've made it clear they're 100% on our side. Joe was furious about the lawsuit threat, but Anna managed to calm him down and convinced him to just let it go and move on. As for our mom's husband, he's being his usual peachy self. Dad's even considering getting a restraining order against them, but those aren't very effective where we live. On a happier note, we had a big family get-together yesterday, and it was a blast. There was karaoke, dancing, great food and drinks, games, and even a bouncy house, because why not? We love those things. Most people politely avoided the topic of the wedding and the drama, but the few who brought it up did so tactfully. Dad also gave away a lot of the leftover alcohol to his employees, letting each of them pick a bottle. He's been handling things as well as any of us could hope. It feels good to have moments of fun and laughter again, even with everything going on. Dad's adding the leftover bottles to his Christmas gift baskets this year, so his employees are going to have a pretty festive holiday season. We're planning to spend the holidays together and do a bit of traveling too. I mentioned the new paint for Sam's house, but he still doesn't want to live there. He's decided he'll rent it out instead. I joked about maybe just eloping or skipping a big wedding to avoid all the drama, and Joe immediately shut that down. He insisted that if I get married, I'm getting the biggest party ever, so yeah, he's still the best brother. Thank you all so much for the nice comments, messages, and awards. Not thanking the mean ones, obviously. Oh, and to the nice Daniels out there, sorry that dig wasn't meant for you. Holiday update. Thanks for all your interest, and hi to the best sub and YouTube. You guys are now officially part of the family lore. I do read every single comment and message, and they mean a lot. Some of you pointed out that I might have lacked a feminine figure growing up, but honestly, I had my grandma, aunts, and plenty of support. Plus, my dad's girlfriend, Rita, is awesome, though she's not really a mother figure, and that's fine. I don't feel like I missed out or that I'm less of a woman because of it. Funny story. When I got my first period, my dad had this whole thing prepared to help me out. Then he told my brothers, and each of them came up with their own plan to take care of me. They didn't even know what the others were doing, so I had 3 men trying to handle it in their own way, complete with presentations. It might sound super awkward, and yeah, it was, but it's also hilarious and just shows how much they cared about me. As for Rita, we love her, but she has no problem not being married to my dad, and he doesn't plan on getting married again. If he did, we'd totally support him, though. Now, for an update on Daniela. She's doing okay, but her sisters tried to stir up more drama, accusing us of being horrible people. But after the email Anna sent, no one is buying their story. One of Daniela's sisters even got dumped by her boyfriend because he didn't want to be associated with a toxic family. Also, just a reminder, we're keeping our location and my dad's profession private, so please don't ask about it. We've changed our phone numbers, social media handles, and we're even planning to move. Joe and I are already working on it. Oh, and yes, I do have a little cheat sheet with fake names and details, and I write my posts in Word first to keep my ramblings organized. Lastly, My dad wants you all to know your applications to join the cult have been accepted. I can't believe it's only been a month since my last update, but I'm happy to share that things are mostly looking up. Sam's doing well. He's taking some time off work, and his boss has been super understanding, telling him he can come back whenever he's ready. He's still living with Dad and has enough savings, so there's no stress on that front. All in all, we're doing better, and I'm grateful for the support. Sam is doing really well these days. He's taken up running and has set a goal to run a marathon next year. It's been great seeing him get back to his goofy self. He's even helping Dad with some home renovations. By renovations, I mean they're trying to paint rooms and do murals together. It's honestly hilarious, but they're having a blast doing it. Daniela did try to reach out by sending Sam a letter, but he sent it right back. As for the house, it's officially on the market as a rental, and Sam's feeling good about it. Now for some exciting news. I'm engaged. Turns out, my fiancé Matt had been planning it for months. When I joked about eloping, poor Matt panicked because I unknowingly almost ruined the surprise. Apparently, Sam already knew about the proposal because Matt wanted to make sure Sam was okay with everything. Sam told him that not proposing would actually make him uncomfortable. Matt also spoke to Joe and my dad. My dad gave him a bit of a hard time, joking that my hand wasn't his to give, but it was all in good fun. The proposal happened earlier this month, and I'm beyond excited, though I think my dad is even more thrilled. He's already said he has to walk me down the aisle, even if we just have a simple civil wedding. While I'm over the moon about my engagement, the other big news is even better. Joe and Anna's adoption finally went through. They've been on the list for a while, and a couple of weeks ago they were officially matched with a baby girl. She's the most beautiful, sweet baby, and the adoption is final, which is the way it usually works here for newborns or almost newborns. We knew Joe and Anna wanted to adopt, so when they told us the baby was officially theirs, there were lots of happy tears. Dad is in full grandpa mode, and no matter how hard this year has been, this is hands down the best thing to happen to our family. As expected, our mom found out about the baby and immediately demanded an introduction. We made sure that's never happening. She's been served with our version of a restraining order, and we plan to keep her as far away as possible. Those are the bad news bits. Because of the new addition to the family, we decided to stay home for the holidays. No traveling this year, especially with everything going on. Last weekend, we had a small Christmas and engagement gathering to celebrate the baby and my engagement. Joe and Anna couldn't make it in person since the baby's so young, but they joined us over Zoom. It was a great time, and of course we couldn't resist giving Sam a bunch of goofy gifts. T-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, all with Julia Roberts' face on them since he's our runaway bride of the family. Joe and I have also been talking about moving. We both live in flats right now, and we're ready to move into houses. After everything that's happened, we're still a little shaken up, and we know there's work to do, but we're focusing on the positive because the good in our lives far outweighs the bad. No matter what, I'm so grateful for my family. I think this will be the last update, folks. I know the recent ones have been mostly drama-free and probably not as exciting, but honestly, that's what we're aiming for. No plans to delete any of these updates, though. We've come a long way, and I just want to focus on the good moving forward. Thanks again for all your support. It's meant the world to us. My account will stay up in case there's anything worth updating you on in the future. I wish you all the best for the end of the year and an amazing 2022. 2022 catch-up. Hey, cult. Time to catch up with whoever's still following along, just to keep the rhythm going. First, a few points. By popular demand, yes, our native language is Spanish. In our country, adoptions are finalized by the government, and situations like open adoptions are pretty rare. Joe and Anna had been waiting for a while because they decided this was how they wanted to grow their family. I said Hamas in the sense of we have, like when they announced the Pope. LOL. Oh, and just for context, we're now 35, 33, and 29. For those asking, HB was supposed to mean husband, but I kind of love the interpretation that it stands for huge bastard. Honestly, it works both ways. Joe and I moved as planned last year, and overall, the year's been pretty good, just some minor drama, mainly from Daniela, who can still go, well, you know. So let's start with the kind of bad news. Daniela came back with a swing we definitely didn't expect. She's pregnant and is telling anyone who'll listen that Sam's the dad. The sad part for her is it's literally impossible. Sam wasn't even in the country when the baby was conceived. Of course, she had no way of knowing that. Sam has repeatedly offered to take a paternity test to clear things up, but she refuses. So, while Sam is safe legally, he still feels bad for her baby. To top it off, Daniela's dad actually sued Sam for emotional distress, claiming that his two daughters, Daniela and the other one whose boyfriend left, were suffering. Surprise. Joe's a lawyer, this is relevant, I promise. So the lawsuit didn't go anywhere. Sam decided not to countersue because, honestly, he has too much on his plate and just pities the whole family. As for our mother, she's still insisting on meeting Joe and Anna's baby, but we're making sure that'll never happen. She even dusted off one of her classic tricks, claiming she has cancer. She contacted Joe and Anna through their work emails, begging for a chance to meet the baby because she's so sick and might need a transplant or something. If you've been following along, you'll know this is like the 5th time she's claimed to have cancer. Reality check. She's never had cancer. Not even once. She thrives on the attention, drama, and sympathy that bad people always try to extract from others. Of course, none of us believed her for a second. But here's the kicker, this time she really embarrassed herself. She tried to rope Anna's mom into it by messaging her on Facebook. Now, Anna's mom is a lovely, good-hearted Catholic lady, and I guess our mom assumed she'd be easy to manipulate. She told her the whole sob story about having cancer and how heartbroken she was not to meet the baby. But Anna's mom wasn't having it. She asked a few very specific questions about the diagnosis and treatment, which made no sense based on my mom's story, as expected. Then, Anna's mom blocked her and posted the screenshots on her wall for everyone to see. It was glorious. Our family drama sometimes feels like high school all over again, except with older folks and hilarious comebacks. But honestly, baby is happy, healthy, and thriving. The only minor controversy surrounding her was about what Rita would be called, not by Rita, but by our mother, who insisted Rita had no right to be called Grandma. Joe and Anna had a conversation with Rita, and they all agreed that she's Grandma Rita, and there's absolutely nothing our mother can do about it. Case closed. Sam is doing well. He quit his job and started something on his own, which seems to be going great. He's still living at the family home and renting out the other house. Plus, he's kind of seeing someone new. She's super nice, knows all about our family's history, makes amazing cakes, and can knit like a pro. We all really like her, so we're cautiously optimistic. They're taking it slow, but it's nice to see him with someone like that. Sam's also kept up with his room painting projects with Dad. The results are, well, let's just say they're hilarious. Like something straight out of a kindergarten art class, but I love them both too much to tell them that. Speaking of Dad, he caught COVID for the first time and got really scared. So much so that he decided to update his will. This is where Joe's profession, as a lawyer, comes in handy. They sat down with Sam and me once it was all finalized to let us know how everything is divided. Dad's leaving his estate in 4 parts, to his kids and any future grandchildren. But the family home is not to be divided. It's going to be put in my name soon. I was a bit confused by this, but Joe and Dad discussed it and felt it was the right thing to do. Sam agreed and is actually really happy about it. I'm sensing a little bit of you're the baby vibes here, but I'm okay with it. Joe bought a house in the same neighborhood as our family home, so even though we're not right on the same block, we're still close by. Matt and I aren't buying anything anymore since I'll be inheriting the family home. We've moved in, and it's been interesting but also really nice. Dad's semi-retired now and spends more time with Rita, so it's working out for everyone. Sam's welcome to stay at the house as long as he wants. But his murals? Yeah, they might have to go, lol. Matt and I are still engaged, still happy, still enjoying babysitting our niece, and still not pregnant yet. But we did adopt a cat this spring. We're planning a December wedding and honestly couldn't ask for a better way to end the year. So that's it, no major drama, just some good news and progress. We're moving forward, healing, and that's exactly how we like it. If you're wondering why I decided to post now, well, one of us is a huge fan of Reddit's best of updates and we got reminded about the previous posts. Anyway, greetings from the cult. We wish you all a wonderful rest of 2022, And here's to an amazing 2023. In keeping with tradition, we've now added 2 cats to the family. Sam moved in with his girlfriend, and we absolutely love seeing him happy again. Dad semi-moved in with Rita, and while it's been a little bittersweet, overall, we're staying positive and supporting each other. Let's get the bad news out of the way first. Turns out there was indeed cancer in our mom's family, just not hers. One of her stepchildren actually had it and sadly passed away at the beginning of the year. Mom, of course, is milking this tragedy for all it's worth, and we're disgusted by her as usual. While we have empathy for the person who passed, we're not changing our stance on staying no contact with her or her side of the family. As for Daniela, she had her baby, a very cute boy but definitely not Sam's. Not that we ever doubted it, of course. She did try to get him to acknowledge the baby and sign some documents, but Sam refused, and after the paternity test confirmed what we already knew, there wasn't much she could do. She lost it even more when she found out Sam was seriously dating someone and absolutely lost her mind when he moved in with his girlfriend. Daniela still seems convinced Sam is the one for her and is completely fixated on it. She even tried to cyberbully his girlfriend, but this woman is made of steel. Oh, and the baby's actual father? Apparently, he's a married coworker in his 50s. Another drama-filled mess, but thankfully not ours to deal with. Sam's doing really well, though. He's still in therapy. We all are, actually. But he's in a much better place. His girlfriend is a total gem. Everyone in the family loves her, and she's fully integrated into our crazy family. Sam's doing great in other areas of his life, too. And guess what? He ran his first marathon. The timing wasn't perfect, but hey, he did it and we're all super proud of him. Joe, Anna, and their little one are very happy. They're still on the list to adopt again, as they'd love to expand their family and give baby a sibling. Just a quick reminder about how adoption works in our country. It's not done through agencies like in the US. You go on a list after passing some tests and interviews to prove you're a good candidate, and when you're matched with a baby, that's it. The baby is yours. I know it might sound a bit vague, but things are different here compared to the US, so I hope that clears things up a little. And speaking of the baby, she's the best baby ever. Okay, I might be a little biased, but she really is amazing. That being said, she does get told no a lot, because we all agree she shouldn't be spoiled. We want to raise her to be a strong, respectful little one. So that's where we are now. Moving forward, healing, and continuing to enjoy life together as a family. Our little one isn't too spoiled, but she's definitely well loved. She has a room at our house, a space at Rita's, and even a playpen at Sam's place since they're still house hunting and working from home. Dad's pretty much living with Rita full-time now, and she couldn't be happier about it. They've taken a few trips recently and are fully embracing their role as hands-on grandparents. They now claim they have 3 grandbabies, since they count our cats too. It's hilarious because my dad wasn't so keen on the idea of cats at first. But now, he's completely smitten, taking pictures of all his babies and printing out the best ones, just because that's what he's used to doing. Dad even gives his friends progress updates on the cats and the baby, and sometimes they're not sure if he's talking about the cats or the actual grandchild because he's just so excited about everything they do. He's also been buying way too many toys for all of them. But hey, I guess that's what a grandpa's supposed to do, right? Oh, and we did get married in December. My dad walked me down the aisle, even though we did things a little differently than what's traditional here. Joe was Matt's best man, and Sam? Well, Sam was my best maid, though he insisted on being called Julio throughout the entire wedding planning process. It was a running joke, and he pulled it off with style. Of course, our mother did try to get involved. She reached out to Anna's mom, but Anna's mom wouldn't tell her a thing. Some of our mom's relatives made a fuss, saying it was undignified. I'm not sure if that's the right word, for Rita to be there instead of my biological mother. But honestly, I think it's disgusting that anyone would defend my mom's actions. To each their own, I guess. The wedding itself was amazing, stress-free, with no runaway brides or dramatic tears. Nobody tried to cause a scene, and we had a blast. We're now remodeling part of the house to make it more ours, and I'm happy to say I'm finally moving out of my childhood bedroom. Everything's been going great for the cult. Sam's still proudly rocking his Julia Roberts t-shirts, though he's received slightly fewer of them this year. And on an exciting note, Sam's girlfriend approached us with the idea of proposing to him when the time is right. So who knows? Maybe this time he'll actually make it to the altar. Life's been good, and we're all feeling happy and hopeful for the future.